afternoon and welcome to the Happy Half Hour. I'm Leigh Kubin, Master Certified Life Coach and Mindset Coach.
And I am Sandra Priestley. I am a leadership coach and a Feng Shui practitioner.
Happy Thursday.
Podcasting. Yes.
Yay.
I know. I am drinking today a Vietnamese coffee.
Oh.
Have you ever had one?
No.
Okay. It is so simple to make. And
Yeah.
it is well, I feel like there's probably there's a process, like they have like the filtering system and everything for their coffee. And I think it's probably way better, but I just made plain old coffee and you add sweetened condensed milk to it.
Oh.
It is so dang tasty. And you want to have like really good flavor coffee and make it super strong.
Okay.
Then with the condensed milk, it is so good.
Oh, would it be good with espresso?
Yes. Like it's so tasty. So, but I love like it has to be a really good flavor coffee. Like I love second cup coffee and I love Blends coffee, which is a Vancouver company. And so when I have those coffees, it's like, oh, yeah, add some sweet condensed milk and straight to the hips, I'm sure. But you know.
Not a
Sometimes
gallon.
it's good to have the soul food. You know what I mean? Like it's good for the soul. So what are you drinking today?
I am just doing a cucumber water.
Yum.
In my
Wonder Woman,
because I'm feeling a little Wonder Woman-ish today.
Nice.
Easton got a gift that had all these superheroes in a vehicle, and Wonder Woman was in here with her helicopter. Invisible helicopter. It's so cute. It's like see-through.
Oh, cool.
And so of course I snatched her.
Gosh. Step aside. I'm taking your gift.
Yes. And my mother-in-law was asking, he was asking her for it. He's like, Nana, where's Gigi or Geely? And she's like, right there. And he's like, no, Geely in her helicopter.
Oh.
So see, I have trained the grandkids that I am Wonder Woman. So now they don't call her Wonder Woman. They call her Geely.
That's awesome.
So, I've been dying to hear, how was your
my
vision board party?
You know what? I've been doing it for now. Well, my first year was 2020. I've been doing vision board classes and like helping people create their vision boards because I think like pretty much vision board classes or doing vision boards is fucking boring. Like for the most part, I feel like people think it's boring, right? And I like to make them just fun. Yeah. Like, and how can you I always like to help people make their vision board so that they fucking love them.
Yeah.
Like you should love it. And it should be a process that you absolutely love and like something that you want to look at, right?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, like I always give away gifts and I do them like right around the holidays and it was so much fun. And I think what's super cool is that women that have taken my courses, my vision board part or attended my vision board parties before, they keep coming back and then they will say, oh my gosh, like I manifested all of these things that were on my vision board last year. Yeah. So I find it really fun, but like I've been doing them. I was trying to think, I think the first one that I ever did was 2013. Okay. And I've seen them before, like, you know, in The Secret, like in The Secret, how
that's when I started doing them.
Yeah. Yeah. Like just, you know, creating this vision board and having this house. Who was that, by the way?
Is it John? John, it starts with an A. Yes.
Astro.
Yes.
And so anyway, but you know, and he's got this house and he picks up his vision boards later on in his son says, what is this? Oh, those are my vision boards. And he was in the exact same house
Yeah.
that he had on his vision board from years later. And he just
Right.
had those pictures in storage. But what
Mhm.
I loved about it was that his vision board was so nice. Like
Mm.
his, and I don't know. So I started doing them, I think in 2013, 2014, and around there. And there was a few years that I didn't do them, but now I actually have 2 cork boards with nice big frames around them. And they just sit permanently in my office. And one of
So you
them is
see it.
so I see it every day. And one of them is my vision board and one of them is Cam's.
Wow.
But my kids have done vision boards too, years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they just did them on poster board. And I
Yeah.
started doing mine on poster board too, right?
Yeah. That's
And
where you are. That's where you start.
that's where you start. I actually took a vision board class and we had magazines and things. We were just cutting things out and it was very crafty. But not something that I would want to display.
Correct.
Like even so like a poster board I would not probably want to put in here, but the beautiful cork board with like a darker cork at the back is what I have.
Mm-hmm.
And so it looks pretty. I have like things hanging on it too, not just like pictures.
Yeah. Because it's
But
about the feeling of it.
it's about the feeling of it. It's the
Mm-hmm.
vibration of it, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like this reminder of where we want to go and what we want to create. And this year, when I was sort of preparing for the class, I had read something online, and it was this statement made by, I wish I had it right here, but anyway, Manifestation Babe, Catherine Zenkina.
Mm-hmm.
And she talks about vision boards a lot. And what she said was that the subconscious mind is 95% in control of our manifestations.
Mm-hmm.
And the subconscious mind loves symbols and visuals.
Yeah.
So I think probably like all 5 senses really, like, I mean, songs and sounds and things
Mm-hmm.
also. But so I just thought in terms of, okay, well, that makes so much sense, right? Because our subconscious mind controls like almost all of our behaviors.
Sure.
So if we think something can happen, like that's what we're putting out there, that's where the way we're vibrating, that's what we create.
Good or bad.
Good or bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I really thought in terms of like, oh, okay, so I am also like, I really see Feng Shui as a 3D vision board.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's symbols, it's visuals, it's things in your space that remind you of where you're going to go.
Yeah.
So
when we see all the shit around that we hate,
yeah,
that is our perspective for the day.
Right.
Or that we just don't have feelings about. It's like, nah, it's there. It's serving a purpose. No, it's not. Get rid of it.
Right. Exactly.
Like our space should inspire us.
Yeah. It's also why I get so cranky about like clutter after Christmas, like all of the boxes and all of the wrapping and all of the stuff. It's why I get so, because it's like, this is not what I want. I do not want clutter in my house. I do not want chaos.
Right.
Because chaos in our space becomes chaos in our bodies, right? Yeah. And who wants to manifest more fucking chaos? Not me.
Not right now.
No. So, but it does feel very scattered to me. Like when there's a bunch of things around, I feel scattered. When my space is scattered, I feel scattered. So,
oh, for sure. No, in fact, we're taking down all Christmas decorations today.
Yeah.
Not really because of the clutter, even though that's part of it, but it's because we're leaving town.
Right.
And I don't want to come home to that. I want it done.
Yeah. It's so nice to just come back home to a calm environment, right? Like to just like when you open the door and you could just take a big, deep
Like
sigh.
I'm home.
Yeah.
And it's not I'm home. Oh, and great. I've got to do this and do this and do this. It's
Yeah.
like I can breathe
Ah,
and
I
relax.
love being here. Yeah.
Hmm.
I love that.
Vision board class was good. Did you make one or were you just directing them?
We kind of had some time to sort of decide what we wanted to create. And the way that
Hmm.
I do everything is in Feng Shui rise, right? So
Hmm.
instead of the 8 areas of
Hmm.
happiness, it was 9 because there's 9 areas of the Bagua map. And
Hmm.
so I really like what we started with was we started with one of those circles of happiness, where it's like it has 9 little sections and you rate how you feel currently today about your life in all of those 9 areas.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then when like what the premise is even if you rated everything as a 2, if every single area of your life was a 2, you would feel happy.
Yeah.
If you are like maybe underestimating, but that's just the way you rate it. But if some of them were a 10 and some of them were a 2, you would feel that discord and you would
Hmm.
feel not the ideal happy. So
Hmm.
you want everything to kind of be similar.
Right.
And so the way that we did it was like, if you know that you're a 10 in some areas and a 2 in some others, what can you do to manifest more in the 2 areas?
Hmm.
Like, how can you enrich? Like, when you recognize it, it's like, oh, okay, shit. So if my career is a 2 and my relationships is a 10, we got some work to do in career. And
Yes.
so it's like, what else can we do to increase the vibration for that career section?
So this sounds like what I do with my clients.
Oh,
And I call it a life wheel.
I think that's what it's called.
Okay. Because you just rate every area of your life. And I always tell them it's never a 10.
Unless you like 10s.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like some people might just go 10, 10, 10.
but when you really look, there's never any area that you're like, this is just perfect. Even when it's really, really good,
Yeah.
there's always room for more, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Um, but it's a great guide because when you color, because I have them color, which is just
Mhm.
to me good for your brain because you've got to sit
Yeah.
and think it.
Yeah.
Um, but when they can see where they're higher in some and lower in others, it's much more clear where they need to start working or where they can start working with less resistance. Because if you're at a 2, you
Mhm.
have a whole lot more resistance than if you're at a 6.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, well, let's work where there's least resistance to give you some
Some
momentum and
success
confidence.
and some success, right? Yeah, because you got to start. And that's the thing. If you're starting where all of the resistance is, you're going to feel like a fucking failure
Oh,
because
yeah.
you're not going to do anything. And then you're going to say, Leigh sucks. This life wheel sucks. And I'm not doing anything.
Yes.
Whereas if you can at least recognize, like, oh, okay, so I don't know. My relationship right now is a 6, but I want it to be an 8. What can I do there?
Hmm.
Like date night,
Yeah.
not hard to do,
Yeah.
right?
Add it on
So,
the calendar.
right. Like
Hmm.
super, super. And then you feel like, oh, okay, this is actually working. I can see how this is working. I can
Yeah.
see maybe I can chip away at the ones that are the 2s.
And when you do start chipping at the 2s, there's work
Yeah.
because you've got not you, but we have
Yeah.
to really change our story that we're telling about that part of our life
Yes.
to get out. Because if we continue to tell the story, we're going to get
Yeah.
more of it.
So tell me this.
Yes.
Do you think when people rate themselves as a 1 or a 2 or a 3, let's say, do you think it's the way they view their lives or do you think it's the actual situation?
The way they view it.
Absolutely.
100%.
Because it's so interesting to me when I look from the outside looking in and someone goes, fuck, like, I'm going to rate myself a 1 here. And I'm thinking, I've been working with you for a while, or I know, I know you
Yeah.
really, really well. Like I would not ever rate you as a 2 here.
Yeah.
And I would rate you so much higher, but it's always that way because when we're on the outside looking at someone's life, granted, we don't always know everything, but it's like, I always think, oh, sometimes with my kids, you're making this so much harder on yourself.
Yeah.
By the stories that you're telling, by the things that you focus on, like what you choose this to mean.
Yeah. What you make it mean.
Right. And this is like, it's so interesting to me because I look at how like the exact same situation can happen. Like the one situation happen with 2 people in the room. And those 2 people take completely different opinions on what just happened.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That is just
Our
so exciting to me.
lenses
Yes.
determine that. So what thoughts are we thinking? What stories are we telling? That determines how we see everything.
Yes.
I'm working with a client right now, and she's really struggling with relationships. She's fine in her career and money and that like she's thriving there. But she's not happy, and she can't figure out why she's not happy. And she hates her parents because her grandparents raised her, and her parents are, doing their own thing.
Right.
She wouldn't have wanted to be raised by them anyway. Like looking at how she was raised versus how she could have been raised. Looking at where she's at versus where she could have been. And instead of celebrating that and being excited, like I was rescued.
Acceptance is hard though.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I shouldn't tell that story, but I feel as though it's a difficult thing that most people go through. And that's where we have the most resistance.
Yeah.
It's to get to the point of acceptance. This is the way that my life has
how
gone.
would her life shift, or will it shift, when she realizes everything has happened for her and she's been telling a story? Now, I can't say any of this to her, right?
Yeah. Unless she listens to this podcast.
But it's like to ask her the questions to get her here. But she's telling a story that's not even true. I mean, the factual pieces of it are true, that her parents were not with her. She was raised by her grandparents. She doesn't have a relationship with them.
Yeah. But it's just how we interpret.
Yeah.
Right? It's our interpretation.
Yeah.
And sometimes we think that it serves us but it serves the ego. It serves our ego, right? And it's hard to let go of that sometimes because the pain and the trauma and the deep hurt, our ego takes over as a protection. And then it's hard to let that go because it's like we get into this space where we think, but if I let that go, I could be hurt again, and I don't want to face the hurt.
But what if you're not?
That's the key, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's, I mean, you hear that all the time, people saying like, I have this boundary in relationships because I don't want to be hurt again. And then it's like, but then you can't fully love again.
Connect.
So it's, yeah. And that's in so many ways with any area of our life.
Oh, sure.
That we don't feel, is as good as it could be.
And I catch myself times doing that same thing where, don't fully show up. Don't be too much. Yeah. Just be the right amount, Leigh.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, then why show up?
Right.
Like if I'm not going to show up as me, then do I need to show up at all? Maybe I should go over there.
so true though. And I don't know, you just think, how many people we show up in such a small way in comparison to how much magic we bring to the world from birth.
Oh, yeah.
And we show up in such a smaller way. I'm catching myself doing it right now, actually. And like from, I don't know, probably towards the end of December, like middle end of December, maybe the 20th. I ended, like, my 1 year coaching container ended, and I noticed I sat in this goopy mess, like in this, from caterpillar to butterfly. I felt like I was in the goopy mess. I was in the cocoon.
You were still cleaning off your wings.
I was still, right. And I'm like, I'm still in this cocoon. And I started thinking, who am I now? And where am I going to go? And I started to play small. I could feel myself do it. I could see myself. I could feel myself play smaller and hold myself back. And then I went through that exact same thing. Why am I holding myself back? Where am I at? Why show up at all if you're not going to show up in your magic? It was really interesting process that I went through in my head. And what I think I realized though is it was just the goopy mess. Like, it was just the cocoon. It was just this like magical space of, okay, let's retreat a little bit and redefine who I am now. Like, right? So cool. It was so cool to just witness without judgment and just go, okay, I'm not showing up here. Why not? Who am I now? Who do I want to be? What is the story that I want to tell? What is my space in the world? Who am I here to help, and why and how? It was.
And what story are you telling that's holding you back?
True. Like, it was just, I don't know. I think I love the space that I am in. And I know that you and I are both in the same space of like really questioning everything.
Yeah.
Like, and not really taking to heart the things that we are doing or thinking, but rather sitting back going, holy shit, this is interesting. Why is my brain doing this?
Like an observer.
Like an observer. Like, why is my human being acting this way?
Yeah, what's up with that?
My magic is here. So what's happening out there? Like, I find it so empowering and so exciting all at the same time. Slightly scary.
A little bit scary sometimes. Yeah.
But you know what? I read this freaking quote. Oh, I wish I had brought that. It was something like, the amount that you can up level is directly related to how much of yourself you're willing to acknowledge and expose. In this, that's not exactly the way it was, but it was like, how much you're willing to look at your own shit and accept it.
Yeah.
That's directly proportional to how much you can rise. Like, it was so damn good. And I just thought, that is so, so true. Because a lot of people that I have noticed will, realize something not very good about themselves and instantly judge themselves and pull back. And so when we can like see, oh shit, this is not very helpful.
Yeah.
Why am I reacting like this? This is an odd trauma response or a behavior or whatever that I don't like, or a thought process action. And why am I doing this? And I'm going to accept it all so that I can move forward. Because that will help remove the layers of the onion, right?
It's like Easton, my grandson, all weekend, he's been off. Like, his eyes don't look right. He's not running a fever. It's nothing like that. But I'm just looking at him going, he's not right. Like, something's up. And he was cranky not nonstop, but on
Right.
and off all weekend. Well, I didn't say, oh my God, that kid is so bad or a brat or a whatever. I'm like, what's wrong with him?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is upsetting him? And kind of looking at it from that frame and trying to talk to him like, are you feeling okay? Do you need something? Are you sad? We don't do that with ourselves. We can see it with the grandbabies. It's hard
Yeah.
to even see with our own children.
Yeah.
I remember, but with the grandkids, you've got this whole different perspective, or at least I do. Maybe it's the
Yeah.
podcast. I don't know.
No, I think though you wouldn't have the built up frustration
Yeah, there's none because it's just I look at him and I'm just in love.
with such grace, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
offering them so much grace, but we
Mm-hmm.
don't offer ourselves so much grace. And I
No,
think we don't
no,
offer our kids very much grace either because somehow it's still tied to who we are as parents.
correct.
Right. Like we
Correct.
think, oh, if my kid makes a mistake, somehow I suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is that's,
Yeah.
we're humans. I also have been known to make a mistake once or twice in my life.
Right.
Why would that has nothing to do with my mother,
No.
so why we would
No.
take that on. But I think that that's it.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's like we offer our grandkids. I can see it. Oh, I don't
Mm-hmm.
have any, but I could
Yeah.
see that you like offering grandkids more grace and less worry because you kind of you've made it through and raised kids and then you kind of can relax a little bit. Like I see this in hockey all the time, like where when Cole was younger playing hockey, I remember all of the parents in the stands were like, this is an NHL game, he's 6, but still. And he was like 15 playing hockey. And I would see these little 6-year-olds on the ice. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. Oh, wait, it's not an NHL game. And all of, because I'd gone through that, I could see
Yeah.
it's all going to be okay, mom. Right. But when we're in it, I think it's
Okay. So that
tougher.
example right there sums up
Mhm.
everything that happens in our life, no matter how big or small. Once we've been through it and then we see it again, it's like,
Oh, yeah.
oh, yeah, that's no big deal. But we make such
Yes.
big, hairy deals out of things that don't
We
matter.
do remember that conversation that you and I had. It was not on a podcast, but I was like, I don't remember what it was, but I remember saying, "Oh my gosh, like one of my kids had something had
Mm.
happened with one of my kids," and you're just like, "Yeah, that happened with mine. It's gonna be okay." It was the same, right? It's
Yes.
like, oh shit, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the earth-shattering thing that you think in your
No.
head, right?
No.
But just imagine, I got us off
No, this
topic
is good. This is good.
all over the place. But just imagine if we could offer ourselves as much grace
Mm-hmm.
and our kids as much
Yes.
grace as we
Yes.
offer grandkids
Yeah.
or
Or
our friends
strangers on the street
or
sometimes.
strangers or coaching clients or whomever.
Yeah.
Like imagine, right?
Yeah.
Like how would that be?
Yeah.
And I think when we can get to a space of like, isn't this interesting? My human would do this. Or isn't this, I find this is like really interesting that my brain would react this way, that I would feel this emotion to this situation. It's
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel
And
like that's offering us grace.
oh, it is. Absolutely. And sometimes I'll catch myself in an emotion and I'm like, oh, this feels familiar. Why does this feel familiar? What are you focused on? Because this is what
Mhm.
just happened. What are you making it mean? Because
Yeah.
here are the facts in this little box of what just happened, and it doesn't equal your feelings. So, what are you making that mean? And that sometimes will make me go, oh, girl, you're making up a story. Do you want to do that? You want to feel
Right.
better? What do you want?
Right.
You get to
Exactly.
choose,
I know.
but we're going to choose badass.
We're always badass. Yes. You know what? Our time is up, isn't
I
it?
know. I was just getting ready to tell you that. Quick.
How did that, like, how many topics did we cover?
I don't know, but
107. It's it's just one blended into the other, but I
it
loved
did.
it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Sandra. I needed this today. So
Me
have a
too.
great week. And thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next Thursday on the Happy Half Hour. Bye.
Bye.